Welcome to the pre-2024 Finance Committee meeting. I'll just remind everyone briefly that the meeting is being recorded, so anything that is said is public information, public knowledge. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. Quite a lot's happened since we were last together, Corey and Steve. What I'd like to do is maybe just in the interest of time, spend a few minutes going over a few things to kind of update you guys on some of the stuff that I've been involved in, a couple of meetings I've attended. I guess the first thing is I'll go back to remind you of where we're at. It's going to be a challenging year, I believe, for the town's financing. Revenues, as we talked at the last meeting, there has been no change. If you remember, we went out on the DLS website and kind of verified. Steve did the cherry sheet numbers and some of that stuff that we had. In total, revenues are going to be $4,599,129, which is a $125,811 increase over last year. So $125,000 increase in earnings for the town is how I think of it. Our revenues go up by that much. Does that make sense?
But our expenses are going up by much more.
Let me, that's what I want to touch on next. This is what has me concerned. We now have the Quabbin budget. I believe I had that last time we met. We did not have the Pathfinder budget. So we've gotten that.
Yeah, we have, which
yep,
I attended as Steve Dodger here. Oakham Finance can be remote. I attended both meetings. Both
yes, no, I know.
Which are increase.
And you provided some of the information I believe that I have now. Paul Rochette provided some of it also. As he had attended and had some paper copies he dropped off at my house in the following days. But the challenge is again, reminder, revenues of $125,811. The Quabbin Regional School budget is increasing by $144,542. So the school's proposed budget, and this is their third version, and I give them credit. The school's done a good job. They've come down $1 million plus from where they were with the first version. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of challenges. They have a lot of requirements being put on them by the state. Yep. That are not being funded by the state. So they then have to scramble to find those resources elsewhere from the towns. I see that as a problem. It's the same problem, Corey. We talked about it the other night at the meeting. It was the same thing we discussed at the annual town meeting last June. Just the fact that the school budget was up, close to 8%. We were just over 1%. This year, the school budget is up just under 6%. So they're a little better than last year. But when you're increasing your expenses for just the Quabbin School District by $144,000, and our total revenue increases by $125,000, we're almost $20,000 short of just what the school needs. In addition, yes, Steve.
Yeah, so with that, right, I don't know if you saw how many people were retiring this year and how many people are leaving the district, right? And they're like, we're not going to be funding the new folks that come on at the same level. I have so many questions for the school district, and I didn't want to interrupt their meeting to ask those questions. So I am looking forward to speaking more broadly, though, with the school district, because I'm just going to say this on the record. Year over year, even on COVID, when the school was shut down, there was still revenue increases when they had money coming in.
They were, but if you go back and look at the percentage increases, they were more reasonable for a couple of years. They were more in the 2.5% to 3.5% range, if I recall. I haven't looked at them, but they were in that range. They weren't in the 7-8% range.
Right, but my thing is I don't care what other school districts do, but people in town are going to ask, why are they always increasing the revenue year over year over year, right? And
you mean increasing the expenses?
Yeah, right. Their capital expense, and not their, operational is one thing. What that's going to be year over year. Your capital expenditures, what's going on? Like, we have yet to see. I'm not going to filibuster. I would have expected to see something during COVID with a budget decrease. There wasn't. There still isn't. Like these. Anyway, I'll just leave it at that.
Well, yeah, I think, Steve, that your opportunity will be, I'm hoping you all three of us can be present when the superintendent comes and meets
I will.
jointly with the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. That's not been scheduled yet. I did ask the Board of Selectmen, and based on their meeting earlier this week, I think they're going to try, Corey, explain that your Mondays are hard for you to attend. And they're going to try to do it on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. So they may do it on our normal meeting night. I'm not sure yet, but I know you guys addressed it briefly, saying, I think Don brought it up on a meeting on Monday, Lucy. So,
They did.
so we'll look at that. But let me get back to the budget here. Just a couple more comments. The Quabbin's increasing by 144,000. Pathfinder is increasing by 22,747. So you've got a total increase for the schools of about 168,000. Again, we have 125,000 in new revenue expected. And that always gets tweaked. It may go up or down by a few $1,000s, but this is my sixth budget that I've worked on for the town, or with the finance committee on the town. And once you get the initial revenue forecast, it doesn't change dramatically. There's never seemed to be a big shift. It shifts a little, but not a lot. The final thing that concerns me is I currently show the town budget at right around $130,000 for just the town part of it. So the town is also, again, revenue is 125.
So that's the increase?
That's the increase. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the increase, Corey. Correct. So the total increase that I'm looking at between the town and the schools is right at $300,000. We have $125,000. I'm repeating myself, but that's a big difference. If you take the total currently requested increase and you subtract out the 125,000, we're looking at taking $174,775 out of free cash to pay for the currently proposed budget. In free cash, we have 210.
Just came in, Amazon delivery.
I'm sorry, can we help? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Amazon delivery was just yelling for hello, and I'm down in the basement cleaning. I'm like, when did you get in?
Oh, we didn't hear him.
Oh, he's like, oh, it's unlocked. I'm like, oh, is there anybody in?
We're having a meeting. Yes, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. So again, to me, that's a big question that we're gonna have to discuss with the Board of Selectmen when we all get together. If we're,
Right,
I mean,
right
cash is
now,
$210,000. I mean, if we take the budget as currently proposed, and the current budget only has a few salary increases in it, people that
Right.
made specific recommendations, a lot of them that aren't in there yet. And I know the Board of
So-
Selectmen wants to take care of some of the all of the employees, do something on salary this year. It's been, inflation is down to maybe a more manageable level, but it's still running around 3%.
correct.
And again, free cash is 210, so I
Right,
think this
so
is
my
going to be a very
question is-
challenging year.
Right, and I agree with you, right? So we, as a town, have stipulated that free cash is where we pay out of the school budget, correct?
We always we fund the town first out of what we raise and appropriate. Whatever's left
Okay.
over then goes to the school budget, and then the balance of the school budget comes from free cash. That's what that's not a requirement. I don't think anywhere. That's what we have traditionally done. And I've, again, just reading things that are out there, Steve, that's considered
No, right.
best practices for town budgeting by the state of
Right,
Massachusetts.
okay. So right now, before it hits free, and I'm saying this for the recording public as well. Before it hits free cash, how much is earmarked out of the money that we receive that goes to the school budget at this time?
I don't understand the question. Do you?
So,
Corey
alright,
doesn't
so-
understand it either.
All right, so the revenue that comes in, right? Revenue, we get a new budget, we get a new revenue stream at the beginning of our fiscal year in the summer.
Yeah.
How much out of our fiscal amount of money that comes in, what is earmarked to go right to the school, right off the rip, before it even hits free cash?
None.
None, okay,
Not right
So-
now. I mean, right now,
right,
the income is 125,000 and the town is looking for 132. So the town is spending all of the income or new revenue raised plus $7,000 from free cash for the town budget.
Right.
Without even
So-
paying for the school yet.
and I remember you floating this before you were chair, Alan. Like, why aren't we earmarking anything for school right off the rip before, like, to account for how much revenue comes in, right? We know that it's going to be at least, we've talked about this before, I think me and you, how much is the school budget? What do we think it's going to be every year? We know it's at least this because they haven't gone down, right? They've never gone down. So my question is that why can't we say, like, okay, here's $180,000 this year, right? We'll say we're earmarking $180,000 for fiscal year 2025, right off the rip for school budget, regardless of everything else. We know that it's going to be at least 180,000 because it's going to go up again 3%. That's my question. Like, why aren't we doing that? Like, we know that this is how much we get in. We know the school budget, it's going to be at least this, and we know it's going to be more. It always is more. Does that make
What would
sense?
that accomplish? Yeah, I'm not sure what that accomplishes.
What would that, so that accomplishes, we know that we're already going to be spending this much, right? Like, it was whatever this year, whatever next year, it doesn't, in the years to come, we know that right now, we know how much the budget is. Let's just say for 2025, it's going to be whatever this is, plus
following
it could be
No.
3%. You're not following it. So
I'm not
we
following
know
it,
how,
no.
it's like a car payment, right? We know that, but this car payment has a flexible increase every year. We know, so for
I
example,
guess I would, if I can interrupt, Steve, I think what I would say, and I'm not sure I understand it, maybe it's something we need to have a more lengthy discussion on when we can schedule it on the agenda. Because it is an interesting question, but I think the answer that I come up with right now is that we will always recommend funding the town first. So I would not earmark money for the school until I knew the town's police, fire, highway were all funded. So I think in a prioritization, I'd say the town would come over the school. That, I mean, there's some level where if you did it by department, obviously there would be a lot of overlap.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Steve, is that what you're asking? Say the Board of Health budget is $5,000 and that's budgeted for every year. Are you saying, why don't we budget X amount for the school every year?
yes, we know that
So-
it's going to be this because it keeps increasing. There's never
So
been
I
a
think
decrease
it's
in that
Alan's
percentage.
answer then. I think Alan's answer
Okay.
is we take care of the police, fire, EMS,
All that.
library, we prioritize the school.
The other part of that, I believe that would come into play, Corey and Steve, is
Yeah.
Public Works.
but under the state of Massachusetts requirements, there's a minimum required funding that I've mentioned before. That has Steve, when you sent me the increase from the school, you had sent the 3.8 something, that was the minimum
Yeah.
required. The total was the 5.68 that they're asking for. So we're required under state statute or state law, however you want to think of it, to fund an increase of the minimum required amount. The rest of it is what they call sort of what they need to fulfill their budget. There's some more I want to talk about that, but let's get into the budget
I
itself
apologize.
first.
Yeah, I don't know when we can
Good.
talk about that, Alan, but I would love to have like these look, we know that it's going to be this much. Why can't we just say that it's going to be this much? And like, obviously there's fudging that numbers that can go back to free cash. Again, I'm not going to belabor it. I want to get over with it. When we have a
Okay.
conversation about it later,
I have
that would be great.
Well, we can move off on it now. We can talk about it further later. I have a question for you. This is technical. The entire time we're sitting here, having this discussion, the screen here in the town hall just shows the name Stephen Dollinger.
It should go to the person speaking. Yes.
It's not
That's what-
functioning. I have not seen anyone in this room on the screen since we turned it on.
Oh, I stopped that happening. Sorry, apologies. I can.
Why would you do that? Because I think everyone's probably, I'm just thinking of people that are watching, Steve, or that want to watch.
Oh,
the
no,
recording. So
Yeah, no, your screen's on. You just don't see yourself. There's no self view.
okay, that's what I wondered. That was my
Okay,
technical question. Is it still recording, or is it just recording your name for everybody?
No,
Okay,
it's
that's
recording it. Your video is the prominent view. My name doesn't. It comes up when I'm speaking. You don't see yourself. That's all. I
Okay,
turned that off.
okay, that's fine
Can
then.
we switch that back? How do we switch that back?
How do we
I'm
switch
doing
that
it
back?
right now.
So,
Can I add?
Yes,
on this?
Corey.
So my part of the school thing, And actually, Steve kind of touched on this quickly in terms of, I heard him mention something about the other school districts. I didn't see any new news in the last couple of weeks about Quabbin, but I did read, or the state DLS numbers, but I did want to inject, I don't know if you saw the Worcester T&G and down in Worcester had some updates. So their school budget for the Worcester School District, they're looking about a 5% increase and a $22 million shortfall. And so there's already talk about cuts that the Worcester School is going to have to do. The Worcester School District is going to have to do to close that gap. And basically, these were the numbers they had. So that's a $22 million budget gap
It's big.
right now. And granted, they do not compare to Quabbin scale wise. But I just wanted to point out because it is newer news. And I think it's indication of the decrease. Part of it is due to the increase that we're all going to see from the state if the revenue shortfalls continue. You know, just to
No, it's a
pay
valid
attention
point,
to
yeah.
the regional news.
Yep. Let's move on to the agenda itself. Was pretty straightforward. Lucy, you have anything for public session? I mean, I know you're here on behalf representing
No.
the Board of Selectmen as our liaison, but I just didn't know if you had anything you wanted to bring up or anything before we move on. Okay.
No.
Let's, I wanted to review where we're at on the fiscal 25 budget and then go over fiscal 24 expense review. Corey, you pretty much did all that already. I know when you sent it to me, so I've got your spreadsheet to pull up. A couple of things have happened on the budget. We had the joint session with the Board of Selectmen and myself. I know you and Steve couldn't attend, Corey. Steve, I know you couldn't be there either that day. Met with the town clerk, the treasurer, planning board, conservation commission, and zoning board. We really only had pleasant presentations from the town clerk and the treasurer. The others were level funded, I think was the reasoning, Lucy, that
Right.
we didn't have anything on them. So I just thought we might want to review those quickly for a minute.
This was on Monday,
Monday,
This was-
the 11th, I think it was.
yeah, I was remote.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
Okay. So you saw it. Okay.
Yes.
So I'll pull it up quickly, Steve, just so we can make sure that Corey has seen it also. Let me plug in.
Yeah, because I was attending both the other two school meetings that week too, so remotely.
I don't know how well you can see it. I can zoom a little bit, Corey.
No, I
but,
can see everything.
This
Sorry.
is the treasurer collector's budget. And really the big item here, and we've all talked about it before, if you go to the third line down, which is the short-term interest on the borrowing for the fire truck.
Yeah.
So if you recall at our prior meeting, I had floated the idea of possibly having a special article at the annual town meeting to pay not only the interest, but part of the principal or some level of principal. One of the early things Wendy did when she went through her budget was explain that because the funds that we have to pay come from an override, you can't have a second article paying the override. So we cannot have an article paying those monies. Yeah, I was surprised. I thought because we haven't actually started collecting any of the override money yet, I thought we would be able to have an article, but she says, no, you can't have an article to pay an override because you already have an approved mechanism with the override to pay that invoice. So we have to, again, this is where it was left. I'm not sure what else I can say about it, but it was left that we will have to pay the $40,065 in interest. And we do or do not, or we do have the option of making or not making a principal payment. At the meeting, the Board of Selectmen chair made the statement that we have not used all of the funds that were available for the fire truck. If you remember, we borrowed $850 and we had another $100,000 that was for equipment, down payment, whatever was needed for. Between those two accounts, I believe, Lucy, jump in if I say something incorrect here, but I believe he said there's very close to around $40,000. So he was gonna check, I believe, to see if we can use those funds to pay this $40,000 interest payment. Because we, again, think of our budget, we are 130, I think he said, was it 132? Is that what he said? 134 when I had it pulled up? 130, we're around 130 as a town. I think it was 132. In additional expenses we're looking to pay or fund. This is a third of it. So if he can pay it that way, it really helps the budget.
Yeah.
So there was some discussion on that, but Wendy seemed pretty firm. I felt, Lucy, if you would agree or not, tell me that we cannot have an article to pay for it. So she said it was a good thought, but not one that the state will let us do.
Is there a different mechanism that we can pay towards principal? That's not an article?
I don't know what it would be. I mean, if we had money, you could budget for it if we have money in the budget, I would think. But I personally wouldn't recommend that unless the town had a vote on it. I mean, you start suddenly saying we're gonna make an $80,000 or $90,000 payment. Again, I'm of the opinion the town should have the right to vote on that, and it shouldn't be made by, a couple of us thinking it's a good idea.
Okay.
That's just an opinion. I don't know what the
I was just asking the
requirement
question.
is. Yeah, there may be some requirements around that, Lucy. Would you know anything? I mean, no. I just think it would be inappropriate to just take that action for the town the size of Oakham to say we're gonna spend $100,000 without.
I didn't know if the Board of Selectmen would be able to
They
make
may.
principal payments on behalf of the town.
They probably could, but they would have to take it out of free cash.
Okay.
And it's not budgeted, so you can't spend beyond the budgeted amount. They could spend surplus budgeted funds if there's something left over at the end of the year. But they can't spend new money. They can only spend what was budgeted for the year without a town approval
Okay.
from the town. Other things in the treasurer's budget, quite a few increases that she was looking, or she brought forward. She's not looking for them, just true increases that we're gonna have to deal with. The Worcester City retirement, which is line 8, is going up by 10%. And that's not something we get to decide on. We're told by the retirement benefit committee program what everyone's increases for the year, and then we just basically have to accept it, is how I understand it. It's not something we get to negotiate. Group insurance, same thing. We've got the rates on insurance, that's going up by $2,300. So again, some of the increases we have in our budget are not things we can cut. A lot of the treasurer stuff, we can't cut that. That's required. This is one where she did put in a request for a salary increase in our budget sheet, Corey, that you and I have been working on. I believe I took that out, but this is what she presented. So I wanted you to see what she presented. So she was asking for a budget increase based on, I think she was saying hours, that she needs more hours to get the job done that she's doing, if I recall. She hours are great. Do you remember, Lucy? I don't.
Salary.
She's salary, so it's just a salary increase, okay. Or maybe she said she's putting in more hours or working a lot, trying to get things.
To catch up with.
To catch up,
everything.
yeah.
Yeah, she needs more time.
One of the items in here, if I understood it correctly, is payroll services, which is a new item, or an increase of a significant amount of about $4,000. And that is where the town has made the decision already to the Board of Selectmen to update the payroll system and how people in the town are paid. It's different departments get paid on different days, and it's not automated. This basically automates the system. So I think it's needed, is kind of what you all decided, Lucy. It sounded to me like it was needed, but it's one of those things that it probably falls into the nice to have versus need to have when you compare that to the retirement account or group insurance or something like that within the treasurer's budget. Let's move slow when I'm online. It's really scroll. Seems we're frozen. In total, excluding, again, the items higher up that were the 40,000 for the interest and everything, her budget for town operations is going up by $6,200 or 10%. Half of that is, I'm sorry, two-thirds of that is the $4,000 for the payroll system. And really the other third is the recommended salary increase. The rest of it's pretty insignificant. So that's what we went through with her. If you got questions, Corey, Steve, you were there, I know, so.
No, it all seems very reasonable if we're able to pay the school increase this year.
Yep. The same.
The second one we reviewed was the town clerk. And she also made a recommended increase for salary. Remember, Edna is temporary. She's a former town clerk from many, many years ago. She's a constable. She was on the finance committee at one time. If you look at the town clerk salary, it pretty much has hung around $9,000 for the last 3 years. Other people got increases. I can't explain again why the town clerk stayed as low as it did, but I believe Edna's position, and again, Lucy, I invite you to comment if I mistake this, but I took it as she was saying she's temporary, she's volunteering. This isn't for her. She's saying you're going to have to pay this kind of money to get anyone to be the town clerk in today's environment. You are not going to find someone for $9,000 a year. And that's just her opinion. She recommends but she's been an active town clerk. She's back in that right now, helping out, doing a good job. Great job. I can't answer that, but I have a lot of respect for Edna. She's committed to the town.
Mhm.
And I think that she's probably made, as she put it, a fair estimate of what it's going to cost the town if they really want to get a town clerk and not go to a shared services or something like that. So I left that in here, again, left it in her budget because this is what she presented. Beyond that, it wasn't a lot, Corey. If you look up there, you can see it pretty much, there was a census stipend increase of $325. That was really it. So unless you have any questions on it, I'll go back. I'd like to put the full budget up, okay? So, Steve, I don't know if you had a chance to look at this since Corey sent it out. I went through it in detail and I think I pulled up the wrong one. Give me one this is the wrong one. Too many files open. Let me shut a couple down. That was the file you had sent, Corey. And the reason I'm switching to the other one here is I went through it literally line by line because we had some significantly different numbers. And then I realized I had plugged the Pathfinder numbers into mine and you didn't even know those yet. I noticed and I realized it came from me as you were working on what I sent to you. After I sent a version to you a few weeks back, I had gone through it and realized that we had zero in the budget for legal services. I level funded that at 15,000 because I heard the Board of Selectmen talk about they were going to keep it. A budget wasn't submitted for legal services that I could find.
Okay.
So I think that's why it wasn't in there. The moderator nurse had a budget. So I don't think, did one ever come in, Lucy? I didn't see one for the moderator, a budget.
300.
Right. I mean, that's what I plugged in was 300, but I couldn't find that it was actually, the budget actually never got submitted by the moderator or anything. So I think that's why I left it out of what I said. When I sent it to you the first time, it didn't have anything that I hadn't received. And so those two items were missing.
Yeah.
Pathfinder was missing.
I think I highlighted in the
You
last
did
one
on a couple of them.
that were missing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I went and looked for them and I realized what had happened. So I made those corrections. So that's why I'm using my sheet because I made the corrections on my sheet. So I'm trying to keep yours pure, so to speak. So I'm not making changes to it.
Yep.
So if you start at the top and go over,
Yeah, so the first two, are those gonna be 0? Line 4 and 5 now?
hang on. Trying to zoom a little bit. Which ones now, Corey?
Lines 4 and 5.
Lines 4 and 5 for the ambulance.
Yeah,
Um,
I put them in as 0, but I couldn't find any documentation of it anywhere.
yeah, I think the spend of it that's in there for actual for fiscal year 24 is a mistake for part-time salaries. I think that the fire chief put something in there that actually was a fire chief expense, if I remember, a fire department expense.
Okay, that's what threw me, was
Yeah.
if we're spending against it.
We should not be spending against it. Now, the ambulance assessment, I put in 27,500. I level funded it when we went through it. I think that's where it still stands, Lucy. So that's the only one we would fund in the ambulance area.
Okay.
But just above that, if I could just point this out, at row K, you see the total budget request is $4,848,617.74. And the budget amount is 301,550.42 for the increase, or 6.63. Now, when I reconciled your sheets to mine after I made those adjustments, we have about $1,000 difference for some reason.
Okay.
And I just didn't have time today and I mean, I'm guessing it's probably a typo on probably my part, not your part. I'll find it. But I just couldn't drill it down. I think I was slightly higher than you were.
Okay.
On the spreadsheet, but they're almost exactly balanced. So that's pretty good for this early in the process. Because it could be a salary one where I, changed the number or level funded something.
And when you're done with yours, send it back if you want to highlight.
That's what I'll do with this. I'll send this to you, so you'll have the most current version, and then you can compare it to your other one.
Perfect.
And see what we need to do to update. Other things that I think we need to think about and talk about, within the budget. I don't know how
I
much you want to.
zeroed out all the prior year encumbrances
Yep,
and the special articles. I wanted to ask, because I feel like a couple of the special articles had amounts in them.
the articles should not be included in the budget.
Okay.
So if there's a value in the fiscal year 25 budget request column, it should be taken out.
I highlighted them all in the light.
Yes, I saw what you've done. Yeah, no, that was excellent. That helped. Somebody else out there?
I can't see
I didn't see
anybody.
anyone. Okay. I think we're getting close, to where we're gonna be for the budget. It just concerns me that we have, the numbers that we have. I think, Steve, I'm not sure if you've looked at this recently or not, but I went through, and Corey also has some on his version, where I've plugged in questions and comments, just to help us understand things. So if you're going through it, you see something we need to clarify, let's make sure we get it noted in here. I don't think we need to go through I mean, there's no change in any of mine hardly since the last time. I know Corey, when we get to the fiscal year 24 one, you had some comments you had made in there also for year to date. I'm concerned. I guess that's where we're at. I'm not quite sure where we're gonna go. I'd like to think the school budget will come down some. One of the discussions that came up Monday night that I wanted to get your two opinions on regarding the budget in the school. There was a meeting held by, I believe it was the town managers from Barry and Hubbardston, Hardwick, New Braintree.
No.
No New Braintree, okay.
Braintree, no.
And Maribel went on behalf of Oakham. And you guys sent her, I'm assuming. I didn't know that, but I assume that you sent her to that meeting. I don't know. I mean, I didn't know if you guys sent her, or if she went just because she was invited to
She
go.
was invited.
She was invited to go, okay. I wasn't sure. So Maribel was invited and also attended. She made a point, she said, of telling everyone that she was just there to learn. She wasn't there to comment on behalf of the Board of Selectmen or the Finance Committee. But there is, again, if you remember last year, there was an effort made by the finance committees and some of the other towns to get us all together. And I believe all three of us were opposed to that concept, and we actually had a vote on it, if I remember. stating that we feel that, the town of Oakham is responsible for its finances, based on what happens in our town, how we spend our money on the operations budget, et cetera, et cetera. And that we did not want to participate in something like that. There was quite a little bit of discussion at the Board of Selectmen's meeting on Monday night about that. Maribel provided an update of what the group is hoping to achieve, and in essence, they're hoping to pressure the school into decreasing its budget further. And I said it earlier, I think the school does a good job. I think Cheryl does an excellent job. She's tried to get the budget where gets what they need. We're gonna face this same dilemma, as part of the reason I'm bringing it up with the town. I mean, we are going to have to figure out if we're gonna spend almost all of our free cash this year. Because that means next year, now again, recognize, or again, I'll say recognize, typically about 10 or 12% of whatever we budget comes back at the end of the year is not spent. So if we're budgeting $1.8 million, we're probably gonna get 150 to 180,000 back at the end of this year. That'll go back into free cash. So it replenishes the free cash to some level. But it was only a few years ago when Paul was the chair, before some of these higher expenses started coming in and before the inflation hit, that we had $450,000 sitting in free cash. We're down at 200 now. Next year, after replenishment, we'll probably be somewhere down around 200 or 150. It's a spiral that if, we keep spending the free cash and funding everything for the town, because again, the town is well ahead of proportionally where it should be also. Again, if you are only going to spend what your increase in revenue is, you say we're gonna live within our means, is how I think of that. It's just like when I talk to my kids when they go to college and everything, it's avoid the credit card charges, don't run up a lot of bills, don't borrow from your future, pay as you go as much as you can. And that's sort of the philosophy I've always had with the town, is if again, we have $125,000 coming in, and roughly 35% of that is, quote, always traditionally the town budget, and the other 60% is the school budget. Proportionally, we probably are going to have to stick with that ratio, or we are going to spend our future money. And ultimately, that could lead to some cash flow problems, like you just brought up with Worcester, having a shortfall of 22 million. We're not gonna have a shortfall of 22 million, but we could have a shortfall of 100,000 or 200,000. So I'm concerned as we go through all of this in the budget this year, that it's a pivotal year on where we're going and what we're gonna do. Again, we could go through line by line, but I really don't think we need to. I know you have, Corey. I spent a lot of time on it, Steve. I know you've looked at it. Maybe by our next meeting, we will have completed all of the joint meetings with the Board of Selectmen. The final one is next Monday. And again, Corey, I know you've got a commitment Monday nights. Steve, hopefully you can try to dial in or come in. I'll be there on Monday.
Yes, I will try to be there for Monday.
What are the departments?
It's the Council on Aging,
Board of Assessors.
Board of Assessors. I had written them down. Conservation, no, that's who we saw last time. Thought I wrote them down. Okay, I didn't write them down. I have them in my notebook, but it's the Council on Aging, Board of Assessors. It should be in the calendar I sent to you guys earlier, Corey. It's all the big departments are done. So this is kind of
Board
right.
of Assessors is a bigger department.
Well, Board of Assessors is a big one, yeah, but as far as their budget, there's not too much that's probably gonna change unless we have a salary issue. Because the Board of Assessors, I believe, is losing the assessor. I don't know that yet. I haven't heard that, but I haven't officially heard that. I've been, in the meetings where that's been talked about, but I don't know if she submitted a
Her
resignation.
last day is Friday.
She has submitted it, okay, so her last day is Friday. So we do not have an assessor in the town.
We have the assessors. This is the principal
This is the
assessor.
principal assessor, yeah, thank you. So that's gonna be a problem.
And we have no assistant principal assessor either.
Didn't we just lose the Board of Health inspectors? We joined was it the Leicester Co-op for Board of
Sent
Health?
the regional, yes.
We regionalized last year.
Yes.
And didn't they just have like 90% of their staff quit?
I don't know how much percent, but they have had some go.
I was told that they may be disbanding. That was what I heard when I.
Okay, I haven't heard that drastic a news.
Okay,
yet.
how many employees or how many inspectors they have left?
Well, I know one at least.
Oh, okay. Was just curious.
So we've got that coming up on Monday. I will be there. I'll send you guys notes if anything significant comes up. I think the next big thing we need to schedule, and Lucy, I know you'll talk with the Board of Selectmen about this, is we need to get a schedule together for the joint meetings between the two groups. As soon as you guys have what you want for your budget or what you want to recommend for a town budget, so we can start.
We still have to work on salaries.
I know salaries are a big question, but
And that's going to change the budget.
right, but
Quite a bit.
I heard a lot of the discussion about trying to have everything done by early to mid-May. So we have time, May 12th, we were talking about, or May 10th for a meeting,
For a town meeting?
town meeting? And-
Not for a town meeting, no.
What?
We looked at June 10th.
Oh, June 10th, okay, I was, okay.
For the town meeting. We're planning on April 1st, I believe, to opening the warrant to all the departments. It's going to be open for 30 days till the end of April. And then we can start putting together articles and the warrant and all our articles for it, as well as the departments, so that we can get it out to KP to have them approve the wording of all of them before the night of the annual town meeting. Last year, they were still working on it during the town meeting, which is not a good practice.
Who's KP?
KP Law,
KP Law,
Thank you. Okay.
yeah, sorry.
Just, well,
They all
for
for KP, so I.
for the
I think you
recording
knew,
as
yeah,
well,
I just
just-
you knew. But anyway, we're starting to get down to that point where we're gonna have a tight schedule. And what that means is we'll probably have to have a few more frequent meetings. Again, I stress to the Board of Selectmen, your inability to join us on Mondays, so I think from what Don said, they're gonna try to get some of this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday stuff, and there may be opportunities to actually have formal joint sessions once we get to that point, so we can have our, whatever routine business we have to take care of at the same time, so you don't have to do a separate meeting.
are you going to be hearing in your own meetings from the department heads?
Just the meetings that we've had so far, unless, I know there was some discussion about you and Steve had some questions on but that was more just on a specific item. That was the Oakham Center School that you were gonna
that
research.
should have been able to be resolved just via email.
Okay,
And
but right now, we're not planning any. I mean, I've attended every one of them that's been with the other department heads. And until we get an idea what the Board of Selectmen is gonna recommend for their version of the budget, I don't see the need to meet with anyone additional until we kind of know where the numbers are. We may have to afterwards. It may be necessary to sit with some of them and say that,
You may, especially police, fire, probably not, and highway. Because we are looking at a new highway person and how are we going to deal with it? How much are we going to offer? Things like that. So you might want to hold a special meeting on that one in the police department, maybe.
I think Alan or Steve mentioned it at the last meeting that whatever we budget for that new person, that's gonna be your starting point of negotiations.
yeah.
I think that was our only recommendation in terms of trying to be fiscally prudent. If you say 70K a year is what you're gonna advertise, no one's gonna come in and say, oh, I'll take 61. So we had just recommended make sure that you fine tune that number, because that will be the starting point for negotiations. If you advertise 70, someone's gonna come in and say, I'll do it for 73.
Yeah.
And Lucy, you are correct. I think there needs to be, as soon as the Board of Selectmen are ready, a joint meeting between the three FinCom members and the Board of Selectmen to kind of start setting the path out, because time is going to go fast.
It's going to go very quickly. It seems like, we still got 2 whole months to go. That
we've got-
almost means nothing. It just goes so quickly, and getting numbers in as fast as we can.
Yeah.
They come in late, and like I said, we still have to do salaries.
I don't know if you can speak to it in this forum or at this time, but with the state budget shortfalls that are projected and the current town budget shortfalls because of the school, have the Board of Selectmen discussed tax increases? Or are you looking at just cuts solely to close the budget gap?
I think we're just probably gonna do that. We haven't mentioned budget, cuts on tax or increases on taxes. We have not discussed them yet.
Okay, thank you,
We've got our fingers crossed that we won't have to.
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting to a point where, again, I don't have the numbers up here in front of me, but if you say we're taking 170,000 out of free cash, you're using up most of the free cash before you even get to articles. I mean,
Mhm.
how are we gonna fund articles unless you go out to stabilization?
Right.
And that's a slippery slope.
You've heard me say it several times. You warned everyone at the annual town meeting last year about this issue. I actually am optimistic to think, I agree with Lucy that I believe that we'll get through this year. But I think we are going down that rabbit hole of where we're
We've
spending.
been saying that for the last 3 years. We were looking at, not this year, but we were looking at next year, 3 years ago,
Yes,
saying that we're headed
were.
there.
And so thank goodness the selectmen were able to hold the budget to a 2% increase last year.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean,
I'm nervous, but I'm optimistic.
I think that the town and the school both should try to hold to a between 2.5% and 3% budget, only because with the 2.5% override, if we do a full 2.5 tax rate, there's other sundry income that comes along that seems to always push us up another 1/4% or so.
I don't know that
But-
that's fiscally possible with
No, it's not.
current
It's
inflation.
not. It's not with the school. And again, they're dealing with inflation. I mean, when we had the meeting with the school, or when they made their presentation, I watched when they were online, I watched that.
So do you remember how much of the school budget goes directly to salaries?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, I'm
They
curious.
went through a lot of that, but I mean, it's in the presentation.
I'd like to hear that
Yeah,
sometime.
I thought I sent you guys the present. I think I did.
You did.
Okay,
I
it's
just
in-
don't remember.
It's in there.
I think it's salaries first and then transportation.
Yep. But the challenge is, when Cheryl was presenting the budget, I mean, she referenced point after point where, heating oil went up so much. So, I mean, all the different things that have increased, when you say 2.5% and you say, well, the country averaged a year ago 8%, and now we're averaging, 3% roughly, that's still going up faster than our budget, than our revenues go up. So it's just a problem. But anyway, let's get back to the 24 budget. That's what I wanted to touch on next. We could sit here all night and speculate on it, but I think we need all of the Board of Selectmen and all of us in the room together to sort of line out the next steps. Steve, did you have a chance to look at Corey's spreadsheet that he sent out?
Yeah, quickly I did.
Okay, what I want to do, again, I'm not going to run through it line by line, but again, I appreciate you taking the time to go through it and identifying, this top one here, Lucy, it's the first time you're seeing it. It's the ambulance total, and they're actually over budget as in total, the ambulances. It's only $400 and some, but the Board of Selectmen are going to have to address that by transferring funds in. Okay, why won't this thing ever zoom? There it goes. You can see the 447 is they're actually over budget already this year. And that is, I believe, because Tim spent some money that I think actually should have been in the fire department. I'm not sure, but I think that. Because the 27.5 is fine, but he spent 947 in part-time salaries. And I don't believe there were any part-time salaries paid in the ambulance. I think it had something to do with maybe some of the people he had with the ambulance that's parked here that they use. He was tracking how many times it was used. Again, he mentioned it quite some time ago that that's what he was looking at. But again, the Board of Selectmen are going to have to correct that when we get to the 2 months window where you can, or 6-week window when you can do so. And what I'm going to do with this is Corey sent it to me. I went through it since he sent it. It's only been a day or two. The other things he did, and Lucy, I'm just sharing this with you because you're here, so you'll understand it when it comes to you. When you look at like the assessor's cyclical inspections, the line item is over budget, but the entire assessor's budget is still in line. I mean, there's still room to just move stuff within the department to cover the expenses for the assessor. And whenever he does that here with the Board of Selectmen, the line item over budget, but the department's okay. So you've overspent on that one particular line item for dues, but there's still enough money in the budget. Now, something I did, Corey, that we may want to think about is I kind of ran a quick back of the envelope analysis. And I took the pro rata of where you should be in the budget after 8 months,
Hmm.
and you should have roughly, I forget, it was 31% of the budget remaining.
So I'm just trying to think, we have April, May, June.
We have 4 months to go.
Don't we only have 3 more to be reported in? I've added in February.
Right, March, April, May, and June.
Oh, it's in March.
You gotta count March. We're still in March, so we haven't got that yet.
Yeah,
So there's 4 months to go. So I took and put a pro rata calculation on. I didn't bring it tonight, but I put out your numbers,
33%.
and it was right at, yeah, third. And some of the departments are down in 10% of their money left, 5% left. Now, I know some of them, the Board of Selectmen would know all of them. So we eventually would want to send something like that to them. Because some of them are one-time charges. So you budgeted 2,000, you got a one-time charge of 1,950, there's $50 remaining. But you paid that 1,950 early in the year, so it always just shows you have a $50 left in the account. And so you're only sitting at 1% or 2% left, but you're not gonna spend anything more. And you know that as the owner of the budget.
Right, how would we extrapolate it?
Yeah, again, a lot of them I just know from the 6 years I've been looking at them now. So I know some of them, but the Board of Selectmen, I think, Lucy, I know you probably know most all of them. They get paid once a year or twice a year versus the ones that get paid every month. So again, what I'm gonna do is take your information, just put it into an email to the Board of Selectmen and say, here's the things we observed for the month of February that need some attention. And eventually, you can certainly start sending it to them directly if you prefer, but that's the step I was gonna take next.
Okay.
And let the Board of Selectmen say, here's the items that we see that y'all need to pay some attention to. And I'll add a few of the ones that on a pro rata basis that concerned me, because there's, I think, police salary, part-time salary is gonna run out, assessor salary is fine. There are 2 or 3 of them, though, that the salaries are going to run out before the end of the year.
Okay.
If we don't do anything.
Yep.
So, and again, I think all of them, for some reason, Lucy, I'd have to dig through my files, but I think the police part-time is the only one I was worried about may not even make it into May. It may run out in April. So I don't know what we do about that.
Which one? Sorry.
But I think it was the police part-time. I'd have to go looking for it.
Didn't we just add money?
We did, and I counted the money we added.
Okay.
It didn't quite get him to where he needed to be, it looked like. But I know we also had some grant money he was gonna charge some of the salaries too, I believe, so.
Yes.
So that may be so it may be because if he makes it into May, the Board of Selectmen have the ability to transfer funds under state regulations
Right.
between the departments and everything
If we-
as long as they're within the total budget overall. So I was looking at that pro rata saying, is there anything that's not gonna make it to May?
Okay.
Is what I was looking at. Because that means we've got to figure out what we're gonna do now, at that budget level, someone may have to make some changes in short-term operations if you're in that situation.
Okay.
So. Steve, any questions on that?
None for me.
Okay. I don't have a whole lot else I wanted to get into. I had on the old business, the center school generator, but you said that you've kind of been working on that or addressing that. You guys will do that. So, and remember, the school superintendent will be here if you have questions for her.
Yeah, it wasn't a high priority. I think the last email on it was, I was just waiting to see if Steve had any comments. And if he had any comments, I would incorporate those into an email.
No, I have no comments. You're a good dude. I like them.
Under new business, I think I covered it earlier during the conversation. I wanted to make sure we talked about the importance of having joint sessions with the Board of Selectmen, probably at least 2, I would think, Lucy.
At least 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Usually
2
3,
to 3 is what I think we've done in the
just
past.
to make sure everything is
And so
fine
that
tuned to
will-
the very end.
That will probably be, it may very well be 3 weeks in a row or 2 weeks with a week break and then another week, so we can all kind of get ourselves around the numbers and meet one final time. I'm a strong believer that it's important, as long as it's possible, that the Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen go in to the town meeting with a belief that we've got a good budget that we both believe in. I've sat through a couple of years where there was a lot of disagreement between the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee on the budget. The last few years, we've managed to, even though we don't agree on everything, sort of compromise, I guess is the word, something you wish some other political bodies would be able to do. But I think that's important as we get into these meetings, that we recognize our responsibilities to the town and managing, kind of providing oversight on the finances, while at the same time recognizing the town's needs. Again, police, highway, assessors, library, all have some challenges of looking at, all are looking for additional salaries or salary monies. So I think the joint sessions are going to be very important. And again, I'm hopeful that the Board of Selectmen can schedule those on any night other than Monday. And that's the normal meeting night for them, because that works for them. I just really would like Steve, you to be there, obviously, and Corey, you to be there along with myself, as we go through
Yeah.
this. I guess I'd ask either one of you, have any new business or old business you wanted to bring up?
Steve?
I'm good.
I'm good as well.
Okay. Cause I'm just worried about where the revenues are versus the current spend level. We'll leave it at that. Let's see, we had a meeting
That's
on,
what you get paid the big bucks to do.
yeah, that's what I get, that big buck. I sent out the meetings from the minutes from the 3-6 meeting. Corey, you came back with some adjustments, if
Okay.
you remember. And I sent a note back saying that I accepted all the adjustments as you drafted them. I didn't make any further changes. Steve, you saw that, I believe, also. In light of that, I'd make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the 3/6/24 meeting.
Steve?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
we'll send those meetings out. I would suggest we just put on the calendars now that we'll meet 2 weeks from tonight, and that may change based on the schedules we can coordinate with the Board of Selectmen. Because that may give us time to have the first joint meeting sometime that week, Lucy. I mean, if you guys would be ready, I'm not sure if you will be yet, because you do have the salary question, maybe another couple of weeks before you're ready. But
We're working on it.
yeah, no, I know, I understand, but I would put in 6 PM 2 weeks from tonight as a tentative meeting, and as we get closer, I'll let you guys know if I actually post one or not.
Okay.
Do either one of you have anything else you would like to bring up or add or have discussed?
No, not at this time.
Not at this time.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I keep trying
I
to defer.
second it.
Second,
I defer to
Yeah, I
Steve,
second.
but he's.
And I'm
all
unmuting. I'm unmuting.
all in favor?
Aye.
I
All right, the meeting is adjourned at 7:01 PM. Thank you very much. Let me make sure I end the recording properly.
you did.
I haven't hit anything yet. End meeting for all, Steve, is that correct?
Yes.